Welcome back folks to Armored Warfare. Now for the intro of this video, that is made up of the clips from trailers of Armored Warfare, so you can see Armored Warfare looks pretty nice. Now Armored Warfare is a pre-alpha, currently still in development MMO game that is somewhat similar to World of Tanks obviously, but it kind of reminds me of Battlefield 3 interface, so the graphics is pretty nice. But this video is going to show you the gameplays as well as my impressions on the PAX release Armored Warfare gameplay video. Now, Armored Warfare never released any gameplays pre-PAX, so I know about this game back in May or so, but they didn't show you any gameplay videos. So when PAX rolled around last weekend, they showed a real in-game or gameplay videos of Armored Warfare, which got me excited. So this video is about my impressions on Armored Warfare and whatnot. So the main difference between Armored Warfare and World of Tanks is that Armored Warfare has modern day tanks, whereas World of Tanks have early 20th century old tanks such as the Shermans or the Tigers or the M3 Lee. Oh my god, those things are old. Whereas Armored Warfare, you have the new day tanks such as the Challenger 2, which is the current British medium, well not medium, the main battle tank, as well as the T-80 for the Russians, or even the Abrams. So that's, the main tanks that's featured in, or not featured, but currently in use in all the world's armies. I can't even pronounce. But yeah, it's pretty nice. So here is the gameplay or the in-game models of Armored Warfare.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, this project's been really exciting for us to tackle. A lot of new challenges, but a lot of exciting new things we get to do. So we're going to actually show some of the vehicles that you'll see in today's video. So this is the T-80 main battle tank out of Russia. It's armed with a 125mm tank cannon there. Very powerful vehicle.
So some really early gameplay footage, though, by the way, that we're seeing here.
Yeah, this is all pre-alpha.
Okay.
So this is the Challenger 2 main battle tank out of the United Kingdom. It's a very heavily armored vehicle. That's the Palmyra. It's an artillery unit from Italy, actually.
Oh, so some authentic tanks.
Yeah, so these are all real-world vehicles.
Wow, that's so awesome.
Yeah. So this is the M109A6 Paladin, an artillery piece in use by the United States today, actually. So that's a very modern artillery.
America. Awesome.
So this is the Stingray 2. It's an example of a modern light tank. Very lightly armored compared to some of the things we've been looking at, but it's a lot quicker as a result. Still armored with a very powerful cannon. This is the FE510 here. It's a armored fighting vehicle from the United Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And it features a smaller barrel there. That's actually an autocannon, which means it fires very rapidly. This is the BMP-3, a armored fighting vehicle out of Russia. And that tube there on the top is actually an anti-tank guided missile launcher. And we'll see those in play today, too. This is the LAV-150, an example of a wheeled vehicle in our game. This is also a armored fighting vehicle.
Yeah, those actually all look really, really cool. It's awesome that you've adapted these real vehicles.
Yeah, and we've kind of divided them up with different strengths and weaknesses. This is the M1128 mobile gun system. This is actually a wheeled tank destroyer in use by the United States. This tiny thing is the Weasel 1 from Germany. It's the smallest vehicle in our launch lineup. Sometimes we call it hard mode. This is LAV-600, another wheeled tank destroyer armed with a heavy tank cannon there, but it doesn't have a lot of armor on the hull. So in Armored Warfare, players are going to collect these vehicles, but they're also going to upgrade them. So what we're looking at here is some footage of the Challenger 2, and there's kind of a before and an after shot here. You're seeing the Challenger 2 as it looks when the player first gets it, and then you're seeing what the Challenger 2 looks like when it's been fully upgraded with an armor upgrade kit. So you can see the cage armor applied to the back there. That helps defend the vulnerable locations. And that heavy armor plating on the side, too. That
is too rad. I love that element of depth that you're adding to this game. It seems like, on the surface it seems simple. We got some tanks and they're, blasting each other, but then, you can upgrade them, and that's so really cool. It's awesome.
And we really want players to see those upgrades as they put them on the vehicle. So in Armored Warfare, players take on the role of a commander of a private military corporation. As that commander, that means every player has their own base, their own arsenal of vehicles, and their own personnel to train and manage.
Well, I hope you like the clip. That's a lot of stuff within 2 minutes, so we have a lot of stuff to go over. But as you can see, there's 5 different types of tanks. The first one is the main battle tank, which is like heavy tanks in World of Tanks. You also have light tanks, which act like medium tanks in World of Tanks. which is pretty odd. You also have armored fighting vehicles, AFV, which is basically light tanks in water tanks. So they have auto cannons, which means it probably won't penetrate main battle tanks, obviously. So you have a machine gun, some sort of machine gun. You also have the tank destroyers, as well as artillery. I'm sorry. So yeah, so still 5 different types of tanks. So like the traditional formula with water tanks, obviously. But as you saw later within the video, you can also upgrade the armor, which is very sexy in my opinion. You saw the Challenger tank and how it added space armor and cage armor to the ass. So that's fucking amazing. But I think it also adds the weight to the tank, so you might get less mobility, but you just add more armor. So you cannot do this in water tanks because you cannot add armor to a Pershing to make it a super Pershing, even though it does make sense to do that. But it's not an option in water tanks, which means this is very competitive for armored warfare. It just brings the bar up a little bit more in competition to water tanks. So water tanks have to step up, obviously. But main battle tanks should be as mobile as medium tanks than the traditional heavy tanks you feel in water tanks. So it's not like driving a mouse or E100 everywhere around. So it should be more mobile because main battle tanks are derived from medium tanks that's featured in water tanks. So tanks like the Centurion is the first model main battle tank that the British used. Then the Centurion led to the, I think it was the Chieftain. No, Centurion and the Conqueror both were tested, that which made into the Chieftain, then made into the Challenger, I think. I don't know British tank history, whatever. So it's something like that. So you can also saw from the patents. The patents, the M46 patent led to the M48, then the M60 patent, and the patents became the main battle tanks for the US Army until the Abrams was introduced. So you get the sense of feel that the main battle tanks is more like a medium tanks, but they have armor on it. So the main battle tank should be more mobile than heavy tanks in water tanks, obviously. Now tank destroyers, as you saw with the LAV 600 as well as the M1128, both are American tank destroyers, but they have a turret instead of the fixed mounted guns in water tanks. Now most tank destroyers in water tanks have fixed mounted guns, such as the Yak Panzer E100, any Germans obviously, unless the glass cannon lines, and the Russians obviously. So they have a large caliber gun, and the gun is so big you cannot actually fit it onto a turret at the time it was introduced. So what they did is just put the gun onto a chassis, put armor around it, and it became a fixed mounted gun. So, but you saw in armored warfare, a lot of tank destroyers have turrets. I didn't saw one tank destroyer with a fixed mounted gun. So I doubt there's going to be fixed mounted tank destroyers. So that's, yeah, I mean, fixed mounted tank destroyers were not introduced anymore because they introduced missiles. So basically you don't see a lot of tank destroyers in modern times because missiles were introduced, and missiles just doesn't care about armor sometimes, I guess. You just pump a lot of missiles at them, but whatever. So the concept, there's more intricate mechanical concept behind armored warfare, whereas in water tanks you just have penetration as well as that's basically it, because you have to penetrate targets or you have to bounce with heat shells or high explosive shells. Whereas in water tanks, armored warfare, you have missile usage and sabots. So I don't know how they're gonna use the penetration values or reactive armor. So there's a lot of modern shit, and it's pretty hard to calculate all these stuff, obviously. So you have to calculate depleted uranium shells, which is fucking amazing, sounds like. You also have to calculate armor that actually like puff up, like reactive armor, which means the armor will actually puff up when you get shot at it, when it gets shot at. So it actually increased millimeters in armor plates if it gets shot at. So that's fucking amazing. But I don't know how they're going to calculate that into the game mechanics. So yeah, that's a lot of math going on. But with the current introduction of missiles in the 70s or 60s, tanks there's not a lot of tank destroyers, as you saw, because tank destroyers became obsolete. So there's not a lot of fixed mounted tank destroyers, so don't expect to see that a lot. Also, tank destroyers have turrets with big caliber guns, which means either the gun will take a long time to reload, or it is a very big turret. And big turrets mean big turret rings to support the turret, which means big hulls. So as you see with oops. Where's the next picture? Where's the picture I wanted? Back. It's not back? What the frick? So as you see with the M1128, this is a fixed mounted turret. So this gun will take a long time to reload because you actually have to jam the rounds up in there because you're not right next to the gun. So I don't know how the inside of this tank works, whatever. But I expect this should be an autocannon, but it looks like an autocannon mostly. So, but with turrets, that means you have to have turret rings, and if you have to have turret rings, that means the hull is bigger than normal. So tank destroyers in modern times actually have very big hull armor or hulls, so they're big targets with not good camouflaging values as you expect from a tank destroyers that have fixed mounted guns and camp in a bush like the Hetzer or the Yak Panzer IV. So these things are not as sneaky as you might say as you know, traditional tank destroyers with mounted fixed mounted guns. So this is the LAV 600 as you saw within the trailer or the garage selection, whatever thing. So it also has a turret, so it needs to have a large turret ring as well as a big hull in order to occupy the gun, which means this tank is not as sneaky as for something like the Hetzer, obviously. So that's the deal with tank destroyers. Is basically it's a glass cannon. It's a giant hull with a big gun on top. It has no armor, so that's kind of a problem in my opinion, because you get a lot of varieties in World of Tanks where you could have fixed mounted guns such as the Yak Panzer E100 that actually has armor on it, where you can also get tanks that's very sneaky without armor, such as the Yak Panzer IV or the Russians Su-100. So there's a lot of tanks in World of Tanks, like the tank destroyers, that have armor or have sneaky values, whereas the tank destroyers in this game in Armored Warfare doesn't seem to have that much of a variety. So it has a turret, it has a gun, so I doubt it has camouflage rating. So there's no varieties in tank destroyers, but alright, I guess that it's still alpha, so you might see different else. So the also missile usage within this game, obviously. Now you saw the T-80. The T-80 has a 125mm cannon. Now the Russians developed a gun-firing missile launcher thing that could be shot from the gun of the T-80. So basically you can know that the T-80 will be able to shoot missiles out of this main caliber gun. So in my opinion, what they did is they switched missiles for high explosives. So basically you have normal AP penetrating rounds as well as missiles. So missiles will act like high explosive, I guess. So I know that current tanks also use high explosives, but I don't know. We'll see from the gameplay. So yeah, light tanks have 105mm guns, such as the Stingray 2, as you saw. Now they call it a light tank, quote unquote, but if you have a 105mm gun, that's a medium tank. That's a patent tank. The patents have 105mm guns, so that's a medium tank. Now, I don't know if it has armor, but here's the general categorization with the guns. So if a tank has a 76mm gun in American history, it will be considered as a light tank. If a tank has a 105mm gun, it will be considered as a medium tank. If a tank has a 120mm gun, it will be considered as a heavy tank. That's the original categorization with the US Army. So in my opinion, a tank with a 105mm gun, it's not a light tank, it's a medium tank. So alright. Now lastly I noticed is that armored fighting vehicles use autocannons. Now autocannons are 20mm or so, 25mm. So they're like machine guns you get at tier 3 in World of Tanks. So like the flank cannon or flak cannon or whatever you call it on the Panzer 1C, that's a Mauser machine. That's a fucking machine gun. That's an autocannon machine gun. So I doubt these guns will hurt main battle tanks. And I doubt sometimes they will be able to penetrate tank destroyers or light tanks even. So yeah, and most of them doesn't have rocket launchers. Now I know the BMP, the one you saw for the Russians, that thing has a rocket launcher on top. But there's other tanks such as the Weasel, such as the Weasel AWC for the Germans. That thing is small and with an autocannon. Now I doubt you'll be able to penetrate anybody else than other armored fighting vehicles. So yeah, I mean, in light tanks, in World of Tanks, you can actually penetrate medium tanks and tank destroyers and side armors of heavy tanks if you aim well enough with light tanks. Whereas in this game, you get an autocannon, and autocannons doesn't really go through any armor unless it's like nothing. So yeah, I don't know how they're gonna balance the autocannons, but in real life, autocannons doesn't do shit against armor targets, obviously. So alright, so here's the gameplay of Armored Warfare. Now the interface looks a lot like Battlefield, but I'll let you see it and make up your own judgments.
So sick.
So I won't try to out-commentate the commentators for this game, obviously, because that's counterintuitive. So I'll commentate at the end of the clip, so just to show you what is going on and whatnot. But this is PvE mode, which you don't get in World of Tanks, which I think is a breath of fresh air. So it's like if you're having a frustrating day, play some against bots. So that's pretty nice.
Secondary objectives are optional. Players are just encouraged to accomplish them. They would receive more rewards and progress after the mission if they're able to pull them off. So here we are actually jumping into the map itself.
You said earlier this is some of like the first gameplay footage that anyone's really ever seen?
Yeah, we haven't shown pure gameplay footage like this to date, so this is the first time being able to check it out.
Wow.
Right here at the start, you see a plane getting shot out of the sky, just reinforcing the danger of those surface-to-air missiles that you've been tasked to take out.
Yeah, he's having a bad time.
Yeah. So on the side there, you'll see the players have their objectives list, including the secondary objective of taking out those surface-to-air missiles. They have 5 minutes to do it, otherwise the next flight of planes are going to get shot down. So that's part of the background narrative of kind of what players are engaged here.
We nailed them.
So here we have the T-80 with its trusty battle log in the back there. That's the Russian main battle tank.
Now, can you switch between tanks?
No, each player is in control of an individual tank. We're just switching camera view just to give you an idea of kind of how the different vehicles are playing.
Perfect.
This is the Stingray 2, and what he did there is he actually just fired off some smoke grenades. Smoke grenades provide essentially temporary cover from being spotted by the enemy, and so he's able to do that. You can use that opportunity to go take some cover, or get out of the line of sight, or finish someone off before they can see you. It's kind of one of the example of different options the players have to equip their vehicles with.
So here's the initial impressions from that clip. As you can see, there's missions from each list, so it's automatically updated. So that's pretty cool. So you actually get objectives within the game, as well as timers for a few objectives. So such as the secondary objectives, which gives you more bonus XP and credits, I presume. So that's pretty nice. You also get very good cinematics, I guess, of plane shooting down. So okay, you get your team at the left-hand side top. So that's traditional, obviously. You also get a mini-map at the bottom. So, alright. With the same scales as World of Tanks. So A on the column side, I guess. And numbers and on the rows. Whatever. So alphabets for the columns, numbers for the rows. So same like World of Tanks, obviously. You also get normal AP shells, as you see here. Missiles, as you see on the second top. So it's like consumables for water tanks. You also get some sort of oil that's a consumable, like your octane fuel for water tanks. You also get repair packs and fire extinguisher. Now this is also changed with medical kit as well. So there's a lot of consumables, which is the same like water tanks. So delete these arrows. You also get a different Fallout like style of a pointer compass thing. So it's like Fallout. Like if you play Fallout New Vegas or just Fallout 3. So it's like this kind of sort of compass thing. Alright. You also get different names on tanks, like water tanks obviously, with their health bar and their tank model. So it's like water tanks obviously. Now here's the reticules. That's the aiming circle thing. You get the reload time, which is like water tanks. You get your health of the tank, which is like water tanks. You gain an aim circle, which is like water tanks. You get the number of shells, which is like water tanks, and this number here is the reload time. So alright, that's like World of Tanks. But this number right here, that's interesting. That is the smoke grenade. So basically, there's a delay between each smoke grenade you can fire. So there's a 5-second delay, and there's how many smoke grenades you have left. So 5 currently, obviously. So you have smoke grenades to pop smoke when you need it. So that's pretty cool. So delete these arrows, blah 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 blah. You can also see here, you have your name of the tank, like normal World Tanks. You have a health bar. I don't know what this is. This might be a camouflage rating bar, or your camo rating bar. So that's pretty new if it's in comparison with World Tanks. So that's pretty cool. Y'all have your modules at the sides, such as your gamma rack, your tracks, and other stuff. So this is your modules. I don't know where your crew members are, but if your crew member is somewhere in here as well. So I don't know. I cannot tell, but this is where the main modules are. Or this might be the main crew. I don't know. And this is the module just on your tank. But notice here that the mini model of your tank is different for each tank, which is pretty nice in comparison to Water Tanks. Water Tanks, you just get a square with a circle in the middle, and this is your tank. Whereas this one gets an actual blueprint model of your tank from top to bottom view. So that's pretty nice. Alright, so here's continue of the clips.
Mounted on the back of his turret there is an example of another piece of modern military technology. You can see that little thing sticking up in the back there. That's
R2-D2 looking.
Yeah, it's an active protection system. It's designed to intercept and shoot down incoming enemy missiles. So it's a powerful defensive option available to some of the higher tier vehicles in the game.
Cool. Actually looked a lot more like Wally.
Yeah, it's Wally, but he shoots missiles down. So
Tight.
it's wartime Wally. So here we have the M1128 MGS we talked about a little earlier. He's just taking some long-distance shots there. So we actually model the armor on these vehicles. So there are vulnerable points, there are hard points that are very difficult to do damage to.
Okay.
So players will typically want to go for either sides or the backs of the vehicles because the fronts tend to be a lot more armored. And he took some damage there, took a pretty heavy hit.
Yeah, I
His
see
tank
that.
status is down on the bottom left there. And the yellow highlighted items are kind of some of the damaged items.
Okay.
And players can actually repair some of their damaged components. So things like treads could be broken, the engine could be damaged, maybe your cannon's damaged. That's a very bad time. But the players are able to repair those and get back into the match at least once per match, provided they bring in the proper equipment with them.
Okay.
So here's a second clip. I just want to demonstrate that the reticle changes armor values whenever you aim at hard to penetrate armor, like World Tanks. So the armor indicator in the middle of your aiming circle will change color from green to yellow to red, depends on how much armor you can penetrate. So it is exactly the same as World Tanks, obviously. So this little, oops, it's not red. Oh no. So this little circle thing will change color. So be sure to notice it. Also to notice is that whenever this tank gets ammo racked, the reload time increased from 8.23 to 9.83. So whenever you get ammo racked, the reload time is not doubled like World Tanks. So that's not fair. So look at the reload time between the ammo racks of this tank. You can go back to the video if you want, play back if you want, but just look at the ammo rack between before ammo rack and after ammo rack, and look at the reload timer, because the reload timer after the ammo rack is only 9.83 instead of 8.23. So ammo rack does not affect that big of a significant deal on your reload. So, and your ammo rack's kind of these two buttons over here or something like that. But yeah, that's kind of weird. Huh. Alright, but you also get your enemies on the bottom, so yeah, that's pretty nice. Alright.
Projectiles, they can be intercepted by either a building or a hill or the terrain or something like that, so kind of have to find that right angle of fire in order to get those shots on these mobile guys. But for them, the team has to use the cover defensively in order to not be taken out by the long-distance fire. So they cleared out the objectives down in the southern area of the map there. They're now going to go ahead and move on up towards the north. You can see on the mini-map in the bottom right, those large blue circles kind of indicate the next points of where the objectives are. So again, this is that Leopard 2A5 with the active protection system on the back. Leopard 2A5 was actually the first vehicle that we modeled internally. So it's kind of always been our test bed for every new feature we put in the game, including that camo net that you can see on it. It just fired an anti-tank guided missile. It's got the active protection system on it. So it's kind of always been like every company come up with a new military toy to put in the game. It usually.
And for this clip of the Leopard Tank, we get to see that you need to stop to fire the missile. You cannot just fire the missile on the move. That's pretty weird. So be sure to notice this whenever you see that. You have to stop to fire the missile. So that's kind of awkward. You cannot fire missiles on the move. That's not fair. Alright, so that's important note. Also note that there's camo nets on this tank. So that's another upgrade towards water tanks. Whenever you put a camo net on a water tank, obviously, there's no effect on the tank. Unless you paint the tank with a different camo. So the camo nets within this game looks like you can activate the camo net by placing the camo net, and the camo net will become a different mesh onto the tank itself. So that's pretty cool. So just notice the camo nets. Also notice that you cannot fire the missile and the AP round at the same time. So this might have to do with the Leopard Tank, but if you're playing something like the BMP, right? I'm gonna draw the BMP now. So here's the BMP. BMP has an autocannon on the top, as well as a missile launcher on the top of the turret. So basically you can fire the autocannon as well as use the missile launcher at the same time. Now they didn't demonstrate how the BMP plays or even show you a gameplay footage, but I wonder if you can fire the gun as well as the missile launcher at the same time. That's how I wonder. But how you can control that? That's gonna be weird, because there's two different modes of damaging people. It's like driving the M3 Lee. So basically I'm gonna draw the M3 Lee. So as you can see, the Lee has like a fixed mounted hull gun as well as a top turrets gun, as well as a few machine guns on top, obviously. But you can never use the top turret. You can only use the fixed mounted gun. Whereas for the BMP, you have two different guns as well. So the missile launcher as well as the autocannon. So how the hell are you gonna control both of these? So one is middle mouse button? I don't know. So that's gonna be confusing for the developers to figure out. But that's another key example of how are you gonna put new concepts. Also note the missile launcher takes 15 seconds to reload. That is crazy. And you don't get a lot of missiles. You don't get like 9 missiles, whereas you get like 40 some rounds. So you kind of spam missiles all the time. But it's like having a KV-2 shell whenever you need it. So I guess that's all right.
Stealthy, it seems like you're kind of like hiding around, you know, walls and kind of poking out.
Yeah, they started out there in the open. Now they're engaged in this close quarters combat. So
APS, knock down a shot.
So right here, what just happened is that these things are firing missiles.
APS saved us.
But this is that Leopard 2A5 with the active protection system, so it actually shot down those missiles. It all happens in the blink of an eye, so it's very hard to see in action. So that's why we've got the VOQ there, just to kind of let you know that yeah, your equipment just saved you there.
Target armor is destroyed.
So you can see the blue bar filling up at the top there. Looks like they're about to secure the mission, or
awesome.
secure the refinery here, and finish this map off. At that point, then they would move on to the third map of the series and take on the challenge there. At the end of that, their performance during the matches would be tallied up, and they'd get their progression out of that.
I love how all the fuel shipments are gone, but we got the refinery.
Hey, at least you got that now, right? So they got the last shipment out. But yeah, so then here at the end of the mission, just friendly helicopter coming in.
There we go.
Troops coming in to secure the place. Looks like they're blowing it up a little bit. But
we've secured it now. Blow it up.
secured it now. Now send in the missiles. But yeah, so that's like I said, second example of the maps we have.
Alright, and the last thing I want you to notice is that the guy talked about the APS, the active protection system on the back of the Leopard Tank. So it's like the R2-D2 turret. But notice when this missile hits, so watch back, go back to the video, but notice when this missile hits, there's a lot of fire coming out of here, which means the APS actually shot down this missile. Now I don't know how the APS works. Does it fire a small decoy at the missile, or does it like fire flares, or I don't know. But just watch this side of the screen. So you can see this missile popping from this BMP tank. So the missile popped from the BMP, comes at the Leopard, and the APS kicks in the gear and just destroy this missile in mid-flight. So that's pretty cool in my opinion. So you can actually block missile attacks. But that's pretty nuts. So you can see the APS on the bottom. APS can save you 10 more times, looks like, or it has a recharge system. So be careful of that. But that's pretty cool. that's a new concept, and it's really well done in my opinion. But I didn't see how the bot control BMP tanks worked with their autocannons as well as their missile launching system. So, but it looks like, I don't know, you cannot fire the missile and the autocannon at the same time. But keep watching these two BMP tanks. I really wonder if you can fire the autocannon as well as the missile at the same time, and how that's going to be player controlled. But other than that, this game looks pretty nice. The tank also get re-health at the top between respawn points, so that's a small feature. But the main big feature I wanted you to notice is the APS system as well as the missile deflecting system, which is pretty sweet. But that's the end of the clip. So go watch the, I'm gonna put the link of the full gameplay video from PAX. But I warned you now, the quality of the video is sporadic. Sometimes it's decent quality, sometimes it's god awful crap, like 144p. So, ugh, it looks disgusting. So, be warned. But yeah, here are the game. There goes the gameplays of Armored Warfare. So there are all the clips for Armored Warfare. Now, after the first impression of the game, I think it's Battlefield-ish with World of Tanks, obviously. But you can see from this picture, there is the Patton tank, the M60 Patton, as well as the famous poster child of all battle tanks, the Abrams. So, I mean, there's a lot of tanks in this game. It looked pretty nice too. So, I don't know, if you enjoy playing Battlefield and enjoying playing World of Tanks, you might enjoy playing this game. Also, I like the PvE mode because it's a breath of fresh air not to compete against humans all the freaking time. And you actually have fun by destroying stuff instead of just worrying about your teammates failing you or stuff like that. So it's not complicated and stuff like that. So that's going to be pretty nice. But other than that, this game looks pretty nice. It feels like a main competition with World of Tanks. So Wargaming might have to step up their game and introduce new shit. So yeah, but Armored Warfare will be out early or first quarter of 2015. So the beta test will come out soon. But yeah, it looks pretty nice. The graphics look pretty nice. So go back to the first shuffle. Fuck. But yeah, it looks pretty nice for a game. So other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and my first impression of Armored Warfare. I'll try to do more Armored Warfare videos if I can, because I like tanks a lot. And God no, I love the Makava as well as the Chieftain. Or the Challenger. But yeah, the Challenger can add space armor to the tank, which is pretty nice. So I'll try to do more of these Armored Warfare videos if I can, but it's pretty hard to find images, obviously. So, but they look pretty nice. So other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Rate, comment, subscribe if you can. That will help me out a lot. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.